Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is 8:51 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, April 28, 2021. So FOMC day. So before and after 2 p.m. basically is what I'm trying to get at. Uh, you know, we have had quite a little run here, right? As we look back at this chart, and one thing I will caution, I tried to listen to where I think bias is for institutions and some, bigger traders, what they're looking for. It seems like there's too many people looking for a pullback right now. It doesn't mean we won't get it, but one thing to say, whether you look at this as an uptrend channel, right? We could sit here and basically, let's do this. Whether you look at this as just going up like this, right? It hits the top of the channel, comes back to the bottom of the channel, blah, 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 blah. Well, what can happen is as you're in this channel, right, you hit the top, you just peter around sideways. Eventually, you come across and you hit this, and you never get the pullback, or you wiggle across, right, and you get just a shallow pullback. You hit that line, and you bounce again, right? So don't take too much in there. You're just going to have to read the tape. When it comes, it'll come, right? There's a fair amount of traders that think that, we are ripe for a pullback. But keep in mind, we were here, basically 2 weeks ago. So we've rallied back up here. So there could be, even more upside now when we look at this. So if we were to zoom into here, right, let's just do it like this. If looking at this channel, oops, help if I draw the pen. Looking at this channel, right, if we were, could be here 2 weeks ago, obviously now we could be up here, right? So it seems like there's too many people at these highs loading up on shorts. It might work out for them. It might not. I just want you to be aware of usually what happens, to get, back up is we trade down here, right? We end up getting a bunch of traders trapped, and then we circle back above them, right? And then that's what fuels the next leg up. That might not be what's going to happen in the short term. So just a word of caution on that. Let's look at some other levels now that we've beat that up. We have been consolidating. I said going into the week, right, the Russell was my favorite index this week. I thought it had the most recent consolidation. We haven't really looked at these lately, but if you just look at these charts, right, you can see this is a 2-year chart. The lines that go across here are referenced from the pre-COVID high before we had the drop. So as we come back across here, if you look at coming out of these COVID lows, the pullbacks have been shallow on pretty much everything when they've happened in comparison to what we had, right? They've been no more than a 5 or 10% pullback at the most, and most of these have been very tiny pullbacks. But if you look at what's pulled back and consolidated most recently, it's the NASDAQ and it's the Russell, right? So you've had that, overextension, right? The Russell was way ahead of everyone else, and then it's consolidated. They've caught back up a little bit. And if you look at, what's happening now, and we could, do that as well. If you look at my profile sheet that I throw out every day, right, as we come down here and look at these charts, you can see the outperformance on the last 5 days again of the Russell, the last 10 days. 15 days, it's went from being the laggard, right, to coming back in with the pack. It just crossed over on the 20-day chart, right? The only thing that's above it is the NASDAQ now. Looking at the 60-day chart, the NASDAQ's the laggard, right? The Russell just is catching the Dow and the ES now. And if you look at the year to date, it's still outperforming. All that happened was we caught up, to the Dow and the Russell caught it. They tagged each other, and then you got that divergence once again. So the reason I like the Russell is because it had that major consolidation. It's ripe if it can get ahead of this group, right, to keep going higher. The Dow and the ES over here, right, they haven't had a pullback really since, looking back at the charts, their last major pullback was October 30th, right? They haven't really had anything of significance since then. They had a little bit pullback at the end of January, a little bit of a pullback at the beginning of March, but they were insignificant, right? If you look at this consolidation, this pullback, right, that kind of mirrors what's going on with the Russell and the NASDAQ, and then look what happened coming out of it for both of those. So that's why I'm favoring that. So I think we beat that up a little bit. I did share this grid with the people in the equity profiles today. So, look at that, see what you think. So these boxes, what I've got, these are above and below resistance boxes, support and resistance, right? So above these boxes, you should find more support. When you're below them, it should be fine. You should find more resistance. Now the NASDAQ is going to have to pop back up above 14,000. So we'll see what happens with that. Or it could go back down and retest these these consolidation lows last week. So just a little bit of a dip under 825, maybe down to 750. If it can't hold this line, we'll see if it ends up, popping back above it. The Russell's still my favorite right now. And then as we look at the reports overnight, right? You had Microsoft last night over the bell. After the bell, it's down below its consolidation. Right around this 255 is what it's flirting with. Right back above 258 could start a little bit of a squeeze up into 260. Not anything major here. If we look at Alphabet, I'm always going to call it Google. It's basically up $100. It shot straight up. They just blew out expectations. And then if we look at Boeing this morning, right? Boeing was flashed down, right? Now it's heading, back up to where it didn't really come out, right? It had already come down. It had set up here for yesterday, and so far in the overnight, coming into this morning, and it really didn't even get back to where it was, last week. So nothing major going on there. And if we look at Bitcoin just as a risk appetite for the rest of the market, we can see that, basically coming out of those lows, right, it's come up and it's hitting its 50-day moving average. That could be resistance. That's going to be right around that 55,000. We'll see if it gets above there. But, it was over that level for a long time. So looking at the overnight action, a whopping 10 points. Nothing going on here. It was pretty much unplayable for the indexes. Looking at the rest of these, right, you've got the Russell had peaked below yesterday's low, right, potentially leaving those people in the dust. Really, if you just watch the red and green line, the settlement, what's going to make your chart go red or green, that's going to be the first barometer. But getting back up above 2300 to 2307 is really going to be another leg up for the Russell. The NASDAQ also got under its bell low yesterday, right? It's below value area low. Microsoft is dragging it down. Google is pulling it up, so we'll see who ends up winning after they reconstitute all the ETFs right around 5 till 10. You look at the ES, right, it's still going up. And for the Dow, you've got Boeing and Microsoft that are both components. So if you're going to play the Dow today, kind of have those off on the side and watch what they do. I'm going to watch the overnight profiles. I'm going to see if we get basically when both of the indexes are above both of the value areas from overnight and the daily, right, they have a little bit potential to run upside. The same with down to the downside. If you get 8 of 8, it's a training day for all markets. Cash is just going in and correlation is at 1. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.